This is an I Am Listening exclusive podcast.
If someone cares and someone's got the will to do it, it seems like it can be done, you know? So that's where I like going big and then going, no, it can be done. If it can be done in Brussels, it can be bloody done in Rainham.
Hello and welcome to this Tread Lightly podcast from us at the Rainham Eco Hub. My name is Kaylee.
And I'm Liz.
And this podcast is where we delve a little bit deeper into those conversations with local everyday heroes that are doing small and impactful changes. We hope that you get as much out of this as me and Liz do, and that you also laugh just as much too.
Did you know that repair cafes were founded by ex-journalist Martien Postma in the Netherlands in 2011? Did you also know that overall tree planting rates in the UK have increased since 2020, with over 3,128 hectares of trees planted just last year? Did you also know in certain areas protected by different schemes, harmful pollution from cars have reduced by 26%?
So in this episode, Liz and I are going to be talking about all of the good stories in the eco world. We're picking up stuff from far and wide across the globe and also stuff in Kent and Medway. So get a cuppa, get comfy, because this might just be what you need to pick you up today. Welcome back to this episode. Good news stories, Liz.
Exciting. Everyone needs a bit of a good news boost every now and then. Only because I wanted to read how we kind of came to saying we need to do, I think we should do this every now and then, like a good news boost, just to kind of fill the podcast, because it's a big space, isn't it? Big, scary space. And so I think it's important to kind of realise that good stuff is happening. So
recognise the change that is happening. Yeah, you're right, because you can get stuck, can't you, otherwise in the kind of doom and dark and stuff that's not happening. But there is stuff good. There
is so much bad stuff, but there is so much good stuff. And they're basically, this is from Euro News, which I was kind of reading up on just to find out a little bit about the environmental stuff going on across Europe, basically saying like climate anxiety is really real. And it's just important then just to try and flood yourself as well with good news stories. Eco-anxiety, climate doom and environmental existential dread. Bloody hell. As a green journalist, we see a lot of this term's used a lot and we feel them as well. So they're basically saying while there's a lot to be worried about the climate and the nature crisis, we mustn't lose hope because hopelessness breeds apathy. I thought that was a really nice sentence there. So yeah, just talking about like the fact that the media's got a big role to play in terms of talking about environmentalism, helping people on their journey, but it's also got a job to be truthful, accurate, and at times it also needs to be positive as well. So I think it's important that we do celebrate those good news stories.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So where are you looking? So if you want to kind of fill your tank up with some good stuff environmentally, where would you say to go to?
Well, I very mindfully seek stuff out about the environment. I don't know whether you feel the same, but probably about 18 months ago, I took a full social media and mainstream media break. I couldn't do it. The algorithms.
I rate you for that, by the way.
Oh, it was turning me inside out, and just once the algorithms get you and they send you scary stuff of fires and floods and dead animals and terrible predictions like it, you can send yourself down a bit of a wormhole. So I took came off everything, social media, mainstream media. I haven't gone back to really looking at mainstream media as well now. So I'm very mindful and very conscious to go to certain places to look at stuff. So I enjoy looking at things across the globe. So I think it's really nice to understand what's going really well locally.
So you're the opposite to me.
Always. Haven't you said this so many times?
I feel so disconnected from what is, because like you, I don't absorb any sort of mainstream media through choice. Have done for such a long time.
Have you? Did you come off like mainstream media?
Well, when I say mainstream media, I don't read the news. I don't listen to the news. I don't read the newspapers. And I'm really selective around what I have on my social feeds now. That took me a long time to do that. But yeah, I've not done, probably about 5 years I made that.
Wow, that's amazing.
But I have trusted friends that do tell me when there are important things, especially like wars and stuff. Yeah, I like to kind of know what's sort of going on around that and being able to but I seek that out when I want to and I'm able and I've got the headspace to do that. I suppose that is a part of being privileged, isn't it? Is being able to like
be
dip into that and be selective. But and I do recognise that. So you're different to me in that you seek out world news, whereas I seek out more local, which is really interesting. How we've going to come from those both angles during this podcast?
It blows my mind, right? So we came upstairs to do recording. We knew we were going to be talking today about good news stories. We hadn't discussed this at all, had we? And I said, I've got some really good examples from across Europe. And then Kaylee went, I haven't. I've got them all locally. And I was like, good, perfect. We hadn't even thought it through, but it worked really well.
So go on then. So you've gone worldwide. Where are you going?
Well, I mean, a lot of these ones are, I say they're good news. Some of them are work in progress, I guess, and some of them are perhaps a bit high in the sky. But I think it's really interesting. So they were talking particularly about how in Brussels there's been a real big emphasis on helping to make it pedestrian friendly. Had a reputation for being absolutely choked by traffic for years, and essentially they took a view of renovating the city with a real kind of eco-friendly, just looking at the city with an eco-friendly lens. And now it's become 6th in the global ranking for cities that are going green the fastest, which is really cool.
Wow.
And essentially they're trying to make it so that there's loads of things that people can do in all areas of Brussels within kind of 10-15 minutes, so people can get there on bike or mobility scooter.
Is this 15-minute neighbourhood thing?
I don't know if that's the same thing, and this is where like bringing it locally, that's kind of a word that gets bandied around in the UK, but it seems to be Brussels are kind of smashing it. And the thing I love about that, and the reason why even though it's not local I love it, is I genuinely believe like if there's a will and a vision, and you want it to be more environmentally friendly, it can be done. And the fact that Brussels is a big city, we sit here wondering how we can ever make Rainham a better place to live and greener and more sustainable. But if someone cares and someone's got the will to do it, it seems like it can be done, you know? So that's where I like going big and then going, no, it can be done. If it can be done in Brussels, it can be bloody done in Rainham.
So can I tell you something scary then? So my first good news story, not to just interrupt you, have you finished your first?
Yeah, go for it.
My first one is about car sharing.
Isn't this weird?
In
That's
Kent
so
and
cool.
Medway.
Tell me.
So, I mean, I know that when this goes out, we will have people go and chuck in loads of, that ain't going to happen, this ain't going to happen. So for now, just amuse me, okay? Amuse me that in Medway, give me some hope, because we're all about good news today, that this, using your idea of where there's a will, there's a way. In Medway and Kent, there's a Medway and Kent car share app.
Okay.
Called Car Share. It's online actually, and then you can sign up and join it, and then they break it down into like different groups where you can like share your car. So for me, we've only got one car for our household, so if I wanted to go to Maidstone, I could click on there and say, hey, is anyone I can look, people log on their journeys, and then I can ask to get a lift. Oh, you get
a lift. I thought it was that you borrowed someone's car for the day, but you jump in the car with them.
There is an app for that, and I can't remember what it's called. I think it's like something Wheels.
Wow, that's helpful too.
There is that, but that's really new, and there isn't many cars in this area. They're all down by the coast, down the south coast. There's loads in Whitstable, Canterbury, those sorts of areas.
I guess where they just get so clogged up, don't they?
Whereas here, this is one where you can just log your journey. So I'm going here today. Does anyone need a lift? And then you take people.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it?
That would really work for us as well, because we've also only got one car.
Oh yeah, you have.
Every now and then,
you just need.
Well, twice a week actually. Twice a week we're in two places, and so we do borrow a car, and we've kind of got into the rhythm of doing that off someone. But when they don't have that car anymore, it's
and like you, we use the train. I don't actually use the bus, because buses in Medway are an absolute nightmare, especially if you need to be somewhere on time and you need to make sure that you get there. So like today, going to a hospital appointment, that would have been perfect, because there's no train station really that quickly. So
I bet you've got loads of people that you could be like, anyone going to the hospital this morning.
It's cool, isn't it?
It's really nice.
Isn't that funny that we didn't even know that we were both doing similar sort of good
But that's where you take that big stuff that go, how can you get cars off the road? Celebrate and empower people to just make sure a car's full when you're travelling somewhere. And you could quarter the number of cars. And
in the I looked this morning how many members there are in the Kent and Medway section, and there's 4,100 at the minute. So there's enough people in there that you could get a lift if you needed. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you've got to.
But imagine if you really, really, sure someone is investing in that, and their job is to promote it, but I care and I've never heard about it before today. Like, imagine if that then just becomes
the thing,
second nature.
Yeah,
that's where we've got to get to, isn't it?
So I wonder, I'd love to dig deep into Brussels and work out what they are doing.
I'd also love to know about the background of the person that had the
vision,
the magic wand and the vision and the influence to do it.
Do you reckon it's just one person?
I don't know. You've got to have somebody that's driving it that really cares about this, because I think we've had enough experiences of, if the person in charge doesn't care,
nobody else will.
You can't, it just won't happen. No. So if you don't care, there's no interest, it won't happen. If somebody really, really cares, I genuinely believe it will. So yeah, I'd love to know who that person is in Brussels.
So maybe a secret mission is to find out who the driving force was between.
See if we can get my job.
Anyway, so go on, you go with your second one.
So we're going back to Europe this time to Amsterdam, actually, which led the way of trying to get repair cafes onto their high streets, essentially. So a repair cafe is where people take it could be their smartphone, it could be a pair of socks, it could be your bike, your toaster, a lamp, and where kind of the skill set of being able to recover stuff, and the attitude of potentially throwing stuff away too quickly, just going to the repair cafe and being like, can you make this good? And there are thousands of people out there, retired, some of them are paid, I don't know how the kind of funding model works, and they sit there and you can bring your stuff in. I don't know whether they do it there and then or whether you kind of, check it in, and then they'll go and like fix your stuff so that you just have to buy less. You can donate it if you don't want it anymore, but at least you're donating it in good condition. But yeah, so essentially Amsterdam were leading the way in this about 10 years ago, and I think
10 years ago,
yeah, mad, isn't it? And I think we're just catching up. We have obsessed about doing this for a long time, havenntle we? Like, having, because
it's a physical thing, isn't it? You can see it before your eyes of something happening. Yeah, the
amount of stuff you can keep out of landfill, like little wire loose, or someone can do sewing, or somebody knows how to repair electrics.
Have you ever used one?
I haven't, no, because there isn't one around here.
I have got a jumpsuit in my wardrobe.
Is that your sexy jumpsuit, the orangey one, the burnt orange one?
Oh no, I borrowed that from Kim.
Oh, did you?
No, this one is a blue polka dot one that I got off Vinted for like £2. I wore it once and then the zip broke.
Oh no!
But it's so nice and it's such good quality that I am waiting to find somebody that could put a new zip in. And this is spooky, but my second good news story is the first repair cafe for Medway and Maidstone. Oh,
I knew about the one in Maidstone. Have we got one in Medway?
Yeah, it's starting. January. So, yeah.
Talk to me.
Well, I mean, they're just starting.
What is it? Where are they?
Maidstone Town Centre, I think, and the Medway one is currently in Strood.
Oh,
yeah, but amazing. I want to take my jumpsuit over and get me jumpsuit fixed.
That would be so good.
I don't know the paying structure. I think some of them you have to pay the people that do it, like for materials, not necessarily time, but that's fair, isn't it? I'll take my own zip over or whatever.
I see what you mean.
And then they put it in. But I would love there to be a model where, and I don't know because I've not been, but I'd love there to be a model where they go, look, I've got a sewing machine. I'm crap, I don't really know how to use it. But I'd love for them to be able to go, look, this is actually how you then use it. Yeah. So then for the next time,
you know how to do it yourself.
I know how to do it myself. It's kind of that.
And I think it would be so easy to measure the impact of that, to be like, how many tons of things aren't in landfill, or what would you have done with it if you didn't?
Oh, that makes you excited. A bit of data.
Data and impact.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
I've got, my dog sits on the back of my sofa, so he overlooks the road. He's lays in the sun. He has the best time, but he's bent my sofa cushion like in the middle. And I'm like, for God's sake. Like, at some point I'm going to have to replace that because he's just breaking my sofa. But essentially all I need is like a funny shaped middle, because it's actually all right. And I don't want to replace my whole sofa.
No.
So how good would that be if I'm just like, just make me a new, because it's not like a normal cushion shape. It's like, where it's bendy on the edge.
Yeah.
Just make me a new one of these and then my sofa's saved. But there'll be other people that just can't necessarily get their head around how they can make that.
What dog sits here, Marley or Wonky?
Marley.
I was going to say Wonky dog makes you wonky sofa.
Yeah, true. He'd just break my sofa in half with his long spindly legs. But no, Marley sits there all day. He has the time of his life. But I'm like, stop trashing my sofa. That's cool though. So Strood and Maidstone are kind of coming good.
Yeah.
And there's a eco hub in Maidstone, isn't there?
There's an eco hub in Maidstone. I think they've been involved in the repair cafe actually. Journey, yeah.
That's
really
cool.
nice, isn't it?
Really
it's
cool.
A bit like Men in Sheds. I've learnt so much about Men in Sheds over the last couple of weeks.
What are Men in Sheds?
Men in Sheds is basically men getting together, fixing stuff with tools in sheds. But do you know it started in Australia?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it started in Australia, I think similar time, probably about 10, 15 years ago. And really, really quickly, I'll tell you this story, right? So it started with a couple of guys that were like, oh, I sit in my shed and I make stuff, fix stuff, and then why don't we just put our tools in our sheds together and like work together? Because it's just
so nice.
Like nice.
Hanging out.
Yeah, let's hang out. And so it basically started a movement. And so all across Australia, these men in sheds were just popping up, and it was just men getting together in the sheds, fixing, making stuff.
Good.
Amazing, right? Absolutely amazing. And then public health got involved. And basically it was like, this is so good, because they saw men as being like a hard to reach kind of group of people, and they could see that mental health was better, that physical health was better.
Wow.
And there was so many benefits to these men getting together in sheds. And so they sent loads of researchers down to go and collect data, essentially.
that.
And then they wanted to support it, so they were chucking money into it, and they made it an official thing. And then overnight, men in sheds ended.
Ended? Why?
Ended because they made it a thing, and you don't need it to be a thing.
Hang on, I need to get my head around that, because I didn't think that's how that sentence was going to end. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of going, that makes sense. Do you mean then that it took kind of it took the autonomy away from the people whose it was? Does that make sense? Did
Basically.
it feel like you were going to a support group suddenly, whereas before you were like, I'm not going to a support
It's
group,
like an
thank you very
official
much.
thing, isn't it? And when you have an official thing, you need a risk assessment, you need this, and you
See
need
what you
that,
mean.
and you need to have meet these aims, and
And maybe you might not think that you need that. Maybe you do, but you don't quite realise you do.
but they
if
were
someone-
already doing it.
But maybe if they won't go here for your mental health, you'd be
Yeah.
like, no, thank you. But
Yeah.
they would just go.
But they would have just found their way. Yeah.
Oh, that is mad,
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So anyway, like I've been learning so much about that sort of stuff, and it is fascinating. Basically, people, stay in your lane.
Yeah, I think that's interesting from the Hub's perspective as well, because we've had a lot of people say we need to formally constitute, and you need a committee, and you need a bank account, and you need this and that and the other.
And the
we've
power is in not that.
we've always resisted it, haven't we? Being like, we don't need a boss, you don't need a hierarchy,
No.
you don't need a whatever. Just crack on and do it. And
It's institutional, and those, I think we've worked out those days are dead.
they're dysfunctional, and I think they prohibit progress sometimes, don't they?
And that's a good example of how it does.
Do you want to live more sustainably, but you just don't know where to start?
Did you, like me, sign up for Veganuary and accidentally buy chicken sausages on day 2?
Does the whole eco thing leave you feeling confused and sometimes overwhelmed? If so, this is the podcast for you.
Remember to check us out on our socials on Facebook and Instagram, the Rainham Eco Hub.
So, sorry, I digress. What is your third good news story?
Well, what I love here is, so Spain,
Oh, I love Spain.
huge issues with drought, wildfires, which, you know, is like my biggest fear, absolutely terrified of wildfires. And essentially Spain being a huge area of land gets huge wildflowers. Oh my God. Wildfires in the summer. And so what they're doing is they're investing 1.4 billion to try and protect this specific wetland from drought, and essentially looking at trying to work out how, when it does rain, capture the water, they bring the water into the ground, leave it to kind of sink into the water table so that there's a bit more resilience when there is a drought. Because essentially where they've chipped away at all the land, they've taken a load of trees down, they've taken vegetation out, the soil is just letting the water run off. It ends up going into streams and rivers and whatever else. Whereas if they can get back to creating a wetland where they've got lots of kind of boggy areas and areas where the grass is taking the water, they hold the moisture and they capture it, it's hopefully giving a bit more resilience to this particular area. And the reason why I like this is because drought scares me, obviously, as I've repeated 8 million times. And I remember I drove through, where did we go? It was, we went to a park just outside Stratford when it was really, really hot last summer. And the trees, it looked like it was autumn because all the trees had literally like crunched up and they were all like, the trees and the leaves were falling off. But essentially they're saying if they can get the water table a bit higher when it's raining, then when there is a drought, there's just that bit more resilience, and trying to like be a bit more creative around capturing
Where's
water.
that? Spain?
This was in Spain, yeah. But I think I've seen things online as well where they're talking about how Project Camp, fine example.
Oh, wow.
The last one of them, did you watch it, where they were building swales? So then when they capture the water kind of stays on the
Yes,
land a
I
bit more.
did. That looks like such hard work.
Yeah, and they've got the space to do it, which is great. But essentially, rather than having it just run off because the soil's all eroded because they've removed all the vegetation, trying to kind of create a wetland and an area where...
Oh, is that what a wetland... Is that what a wetland is?
Well, they're not creating a wetland in Portugal because that's not necessarily a wetland area where they are, but they're still just working with the land to try and capture and hold on to water when the water rains.
So they planted lots of fruit trees and stuff, didn't they?
Yeah.
And then they made like a zigzag along the where the trees were, so that when the water comes in, it kind of like goes down and filters down. So
a bendy river almost.
Yeah. Then it waters the trees, right?
Waters the trees, and then I think what we'll see when it comes back in February, and I'm so excited, Project Camp are going to come on our podcast. That's for another day.
Fangirling.
Literally. But yeah, they're also going to have like 3 or 4 little what they call swales, which is like kind of captured bits of water, just to give a bit more resilience again for when it's dry. So I know it won't solve the problem, but just trying to be a bit more creative about water and trying to realise that chopping a load of trees away, digging all the vegetation doesn't just screw things over from a biodiversity point of view, but actually from a water point of view. It means that we're more at risk when we have a drought.
I love that. You just made me think then that when I meet lots of different people in lots of different positions that can kind of like get creative around and make decisions around things locally, environmentally, I always like asking the question, who are you watching and who are you learning from? Like, who out there is doing what you're trying to achieve and doing it really, really well?
Yeah.
And what can you learn, or, you know, not even necessarily good stuff, but like what stuff are they doing that you go, oh no, wouldn't do that because that wouldn't work here, because, you know, Medway is a very specific town, place, you know, as is everywhere, but, you know, you all have your own unique identity, don't you? And do you know what, nobody has ever said to me, oh, I'm looking at these over there. Like, no one's ever said that.
What do you mean, not looking at what?
Well, like so I have said to people in public health, like, the stuff that you're trying to do around air quality, like, who are you looking at? Who's doing some really, really cool stuff that you kind of either want to replicate or learn from? Nobody ever goes, yeah, I'm learning from this person.
Whoa, that blows my head.
And I it blows mine, because I think we need to be looking outward so much more in all areas, like not even just environmental, just in life in general. We need to be just looking outside and kind of seeing how other people are doing stuff. And you're not going to be able to take something exactly right, because we're all different and we've got different problems and they need to be solved differently. But like, that's where you get your inspiration and your creativity goes, isn't it?
Don't you think? And this is going a bit off topic.
Yeah, sorry, that's me again.
No, but this is going off topic in terms of, you know, when we were talking about the fact that the hub doesn't work with that structure of chairman, secretary, treasurer, constitution, all that kind of stuff, and it's allowed things to be more creative. I can't help but think that historically, and probably from kind of maybe the 60s onwards, there was the boss who knew the most, and then there was kind of a deputy boss, and then there was a team of team leaders, and then there was some kind of doers. And historically, it just worked out that the most experienced person was the person who had the ideas, and then we all just followed. Mm-hmm. And if you weren't in that sector, or you weren't in that sphere, then you didn't have a space at the table, because this is our team doing our thing. And I think we then forgot to remember to ask perhaps the other department what they think, or ask Joe Bloggs on the street what they think, or ask the new up and coming officer what they think, rather than just because you've always been there the longest, you've got the loudest voice and the most power, that you have the ideas. And so maybe like society just made people kind of close in with the view of promotions and structure, and
no collaboration.
It stops collaboration, doesn't it?
I absolutely love collaboration. I can't think of anything better than just like meeting new people and like learning like about them and their story and what they're doing and stuff. And because it makes me then, like, so many clogs in my brain then start going. I love all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I do. But I think people can sometimes get, I don't know whether there's a fear that somebody who isn't in the paid position, or you do see what I mean? Like maybe there's a fear of like asking that somebody might have a better idea than you. Historically, I'm talking about. I'm hoping that
I do have that sometimes though.
Do you think?
Yeah, if I see somebody doing something that I've wanted to do for a long time and I haven't been able to do it, I get a bit envious. I do get that. I think I've said that to you before. Like, I'm like, oh, why are they doing that? I want to do that. But then I have a chat with myself, and then obviously cheerlead them, because that's the right thing to do, and it's better that somebody's doing it rather than me. But I think a lot of people maybe do have that. They just don't maybe say it. Do you think?
Yeah, and I think it's changing as well. I think it was maybe a historic view that the most senior person in the room had the best ideas. I don't think that's the case now. I think
I don't ever think that.
I think societally, maybe not. I don't know, but I think things are changing, and I think kind of bringing people to the table from all different walks of life. It would never be that you brought everybody to the table. It'd be that a certain type of person was brought to the table, and I think hopefully things are starting to change. That
table's getting bigger, isn't it?
And when we say diversity, we are genuinely true and not tokenistic about biodiversity. Why can I not just replace normal words with environmental words? Actual diversity, not biodiversity, for God's sake. Go, hit me.
So my third one is actually not local, but it can be linked to local. So the Eden Community Project, I know that I've spoken about them before, and I was really lucky in 2023 to be funded to go on the Eden Community Camps. They do every single year. Have you heard of Big Lunch?
Yeah, I have. I used to do Big Lunch at... Where did I do Big Lunch? Maybe Plant Life.
Did
you? I
can't
remember. It's lovely. Talk to me more about it, though, 'cause it's a long time ago.
So Big Lunch in 2024 is going to be running the 1st and the 2nd of June, which is a weekend. In fact, when most people would have done some sort of like street party last year for something, I can't remember what it was. I don't know, something.
Coronation?
Might have been, yeah. It was Coronation. Yeah, that was sponsored by Big Lunch.
Oh, was it?
So their whole idea is around community organisers and bringing communities together. And so encouraging people to do exactly what you said, which is you don't need a structure, you don't need this. You just need to knock on your neighbour's door and say, do you fancy seeing if we can get our road closed and having a lunch together over this weekend?
Oh, so they discourage kind of too much organisation as well?
I mean, they always say ask for permission, of course. And like there is on their website loads of stuff that says, you know, how to even apply to get your road closed and all that sort of stuff. But but basically they encourage you to just crack on and get creative and come up with those sort of ideas. And
that's really nice.
Yeah, and they give quite a lot of ideas if you are lacking in creativity, but you've got the heart for it, you know. So Big Lunch, I think it'd be really interesting after we've had the last couple of years of having street parties, because that's the first time in my life that I've experienced street parties.
Did you have a street party up your road?
Yeah, we had every single one. I don't even know what they're for. Oh, I tell you, no, I do know. We had one for the VE Day and Coronation and the Jubilee. So we've had 3.
3?
Yeah. We shut up for all of them. But yeah, it's really good. So
your road's perfect for a street party.
It's really long, isn't it? And we've got an amazing community organiser in our road. That is not me. Yay! Which is always a joy to me, really.
Yay to them. That's
Yay
cool.
to them. And they made everyone move their cars, and we had the kids playing in the street, which has made me since then really want to do see if we can apply for a Play Streets thing. Have you heard of that?
No, talk to me about Play Streets.
Play Streets is there's mainly in London. I think that's where it started, and you can apply to the council to have your street closed for a couple of hours, so the kids can basically play out in the street.
Oh my God, that's so good.
Like they chalk on the street, get all the toys out, and again, that's the same thing. That's bringing people together, and that's doing stuff that we did as kids.
Yeah.
Because our road's so busy, I'd never let my kids play out the front, but if it was shut, amazing.
And I guess that again comes back down to if there's a yes man or woman at the heart of this, it can happen, can't it? Because there's other examples of where it has happened and it used to happen. I guess it just depends on if you've got the person, the decision maker. If you say yes, you can make that work.
Yeah,
it's
you can make it work. How excited. Oh, I've liked this one.
Me too. Have we got time for one more?
Go.
Okay, one more. I'll try and keep this one quick because this is my fave. So this is How Green Corridors Saving One of Brazil's Most Endangered Species from Deforestation. So this has been run by young people in Rio de Janeiro, essentially looking for safe passages between 2 areas of green space, which obviously was originally the Amazon, but now it's kind of got a little bit segmented where they've had development going on and certain sections of the Amazon mean that 2 bits of the forest aren't connected. So what they've done is they've been planting tree seedlings which eventually will connect the 2 patches of the forest together. Yeah, trying to kind of rewild it, but also making sure that there's a safe way for animals to get from A to B without needing to kind of get into contact with humans, which is absolutely lovely and happening in Brazil and in the rainforest. Of course, we must be able to do this like locally. What 2 patches have we got where we've maybe got like a hedge over there and a hedge over there? Could we connect those hedges in our gardens and put like, a little kind of runway between the two so that it creates a bigger habitat, so you don't just have one patch of green here, one patch of green there. How can we bring it together and connect it? And the fact that it's being done in one of the most challenging countries in the world, and they're able to do it with such an important part of the world. So yay for that. Let's do more of that locally.
I think Leon, if he's listening, will love you for saying that, because I remember when you taught me about hedgerows and how important they are for wildlife. I think you called them like nature's corridors. And when I learnt that, I was like, oh, that's one of those things that I now can't unknow.
Yeah. I think I was like you exactly before, that you'd go, I'll tell you what, I'll plant a hedge there. Tell you what I'll do, I'll plant a hedge there. And then you just go, those hedges offer nothing to nature if they can't get from one to the other. And I was like, oh my God, obviously. Like you say, like you go, oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You try your best, don't you, when you don't know, and go, I'll plant 2 hedges in my garden. But if you can plant a run of hedges, then suddenly there's a whole habitat that can kind of get from A to B.
It's a bit like in our garden. We've got I think it's called a spindle fence.
Okay.
Like just the sticks connected together by a bit of wire.
Okay, yeah.
And then we've got like a hedge from next door that like goes up the other side of it. And when we got a dog, we had to put some chicken wire, because some of the spindles have gotten wider because the foxes obviously go through them. So we didn't want the dog to go next door, so we put up this chicken wire. And I'm glad, because at the time I didn't know that obviously you still need like hedgehogs to be able to get through and stuff.
Yeah.
So they can still get through, and actually the fox doesn't really care that we've got chicken wire there, because he still gets his way through it. There's like a big massive hole. He still gets through anyway. So, but yeah, I didn't know any of that. Whereas so now it's stuff that, when people say that, like, once you know, you can't unknow, that's that sort of thing, because you had explained it in a really easy way.
Brazil.
And now they're doing it in Brazil.
Yeah.
Well, they've probably been doing it for ages before I knew, but
Probably true. I've enjoyed this episode.
Same.
I think we need to do good news swaps every now and then, because it can get a bit heavy, can't it?
I think we should do it again where we don't tell each other what our good news stories is, and see if we end up with similar ones. How weird is that we've done that?
But you went local, I went like...
Yeah, that's weird that it was the same sort of thing.
We were listening on, if any of you listen to our Love Med radio show, you'll know that Kaylee and I agree on pretty much nothing. We've got nothing in common, have we? Love this song. I don't love this song. I don't know this song. I know this song. There's like, maybe when it comes to music. And then like 2 hours after listening to this, we come here and we've done the same again, haven't we?
A bit weird.
Mad, isn't it? Very cool.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening, guys. Make sure you subscribe and you give us some love. All the best.
Take care. Thank you for listening to the Rainham Eco Hub's Tread Lightly podcast. If, like us, you're trying to be more sustainable, then like and subscribe to get notified when we release new episodes, or even better, share with your friends and family. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and thank you for joining us. Stay safe, keep going, and find us on socials. Cheers, guys.
This has been an I Am Listening exclusive podcast. For more information, head over to our website, im-listening.co.uk.